Mr. McGregor, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding the last two votes to adjourn, I'm certainly not going to let the Conservatives get off that easy because, for Canadians who are watching the committee proceedings right now, the Conservatives are essentially running interference and defense solely for their leader. And they simply do not have any justifiable reasons for this charade to go on any further. Their leaders' reasoning for not getting security clearance has been thoroughly debunked by multiple national security experts. And I do believe that given the seriousness, because this issue has come up in the past, but given the fact that we had these RCMP revelations come out on Thanksgiving Monday, I think the game has changed significantly right now. And if you look at what is contained in that RCMP report, the references to very serious criminal activity on behalf of the agents of the Indian government, I believe this is a time where we have to put our country first, where the partisan interests of our party need to come second to the interests of Canada. And I believe the interests of our country right now demand that we form a united front, and that means all federal political party leaders getting the clearance necessary to receive those briefings so that they can make informed decisions within their own caucuses, and so that our foreign adversaries can see when they look at the House of Commons, yes, we've got our political differences. We fight very hard on the floor of the House on many different issues. But when it comes to an issue as serious as foreign interference, we stand united, and we have a united front where all political party leaders are getting the briefing necessary to take relevant actions. Now, I want to refute a few points that were brought up in argument by my Conservative colleagues. Now, Mr. Motz earlier talked about the CSIS Act. And I just wanted to quote from Wesley Wark, who has been at this committee many times, who has been a member for both Liberal and Conservative governments as a national security advisor. He has briefed them. And I just want to quote from this iPolitics article. Quote, Wark also shut down the idea previously floated by the Conservative Party that the federal government had other avenues of briefing Poilievre on the critical information that don't involve a security clearance, namely invoking the threat reduction measures included in the CSIS Act. Quote, he's playing with the public on that one too, said Wark. Threat reduction measures are not meant to be a tool to provide intelligence to people. They've been used as a workaround by CSIS because they don't otherwise have the authority to share intelligence. The important thing to understand about threat reduction measures is that they are targeted. They are not designed to provide broad information. So that directly refutes the arguments that were just made by Mr. Motz at this committee. This is a time when I think the continued refusal of only one leader in the House of Commons to get security clearance is raising far more questions than is necessary. Questions such as, what could possibly be holding back the leader of the opposition from getting it? Is he even able to get it? Are there concerns about his ability to apply? Is that why he's not making it? The other thing that's bringing me quite a bit of levity is the fact that my Conservative colleagues love to quote from Mr. Mulcair, the former leader of the NDP. I haven't spoken to Mr. Mulcair since 2017. He doesn't represent our party anymore. He is paid, I believe, by CTV to be a political commentator. He is not a national security expert. And so if he's on the air and you're quoting him as an authoritative source and you're completely ignoring the many CSIS officials who have spoken out on this measure, I think you're obviously doing the argument here a complete and total disservice. So I also want to talk about some other quotes on this particular subject. So on the Hill Times, former CSIS executive Dan Stanton was also quoted, and I'll read from the article here. Stanton said Poilievre deserves criticism for not getting a security clearance. He said that classified data is necessary for the Conservative leader to take action on any compromised members of his party. He said Poilievre's explanation that his chief of staff takes briefings is, quote, ridiculous. Briefing his chief of staff is pointless, said Stanton. He cannot advise Poilievre as to the contents of the briefing, nor can the chief of staff take action a party leader can and should. I want to also go back to the iPolitics article, because there are more quotes here from Wesley Wark, who basically said that the arguments being made by the leader of the Conservatives is nonsense. Mr. Wark said that the Tory leader is knowingly misleading the public by claiming he doesn't need the clearance because of his chief of staff has received briefings. Quote, Pierre Poilievre's idea that it's sufficient for his chief of staff to be briefed for him and for his chief of staff to share that information with him is complete nonsense, Wark told iPolitics. And Poilievre, having been a former Privy Councillor and Minister, knows it's nonsense. Ward Elcock, former Director of CSIS. I don't think you can get more authoritative than that. Both Wark, both Wark and Elcock agreed there is no reasonable justification for Poilievre not to pursue a security clearance. And I know in conversations that I have had in private with the RCMP and with CSIS, they absolutely would like it to be a fact that every single federal party leader has the necessary security clearance. Now, everyone keeps on talking around this table about, a gag order being placed on the leader. I mean, first of all, I'm not sure it's actually physically possible to place a gag on the leader. He's not a verbally challenged person. But they're missing the point completely here. This is not about what you can and cannot say. This is about actions. And the leaders of each party wield an incredible amount of power in their caucus. I mean, that's just been a trend in politics. There's been a centralizing focus of power. And in each party, in each caucus, the party leader has the ability to determine who has what parliamentary roles, who sits on what committees, and most importantly, who gets to have their nomination papers signed to run under that party's banner in the next election. So there's a huge difference between intelligence and evidence, which is why our national security experts are quite loath to have the names just released out into the ether, because there might not be room for a proper judicial process. So I think we have to respect those very real fears, Mr. Chair. And I'm not saying this. This is our national security experts, the people, the men and women who work in the field. But if a party leader is aware that there may be some compromised individuals in their caucus, this kind of clearance would allow them to take the necessary briefing to ensure that that person is nowhere near sensitive parliamentary proceedings. And I think the most important for Canadians, so that they can have confidence in our elections, that leader can also make sure that that person does not run under their party banner. So again, Mr. Chair, all of the arguments that have been put forward by the Conservatives and by their leader have been directly refuted by men and women who are former and active members in our intelligence and security agencies. If the leader of the Conservative Party thinks he knows better than them, he should have the courage to go on the record and say so, level with Canadians. Because right now, it's becoming increasingly clear that this is nothing more than a partisan charade. It is meant to I don't know what the actual reasoning is, but I think the Conservatives have definitely painted themselves as agents of chaos in this Parliament, and this is yet another example at a time when we should be taking this extremely seriously. I would love to get to our study in India. We have a study going on in Russia. There's all kinds of important matters that this committee needs to be seized with. And it's great that we had that unanimous consent last week to get into that. If we are serious about that, let's get to a vote. Let's get to a vote. Let's get to the floor of the House of Commons. Maybe we can have a concurrence debate, and then the wider House can be seized with this issue, and we can have a debate about what the right course of action is. I don't think that this going on and on serves Canadians, and so I would urge my Conservative colleagues to stop their speaking spots, listen to the evidence that's been presented by multiple people who work in this field, and let's get on with this. Let's show our foreign adversaries that while we may have our political differences, on this front we stand united. We stand united in wanting all of our federal party leaders to have the security clearance and briefings necessary so that they can take the actions within their respective caucuses and make sure that in the next election there is no candidate who might be compromised by a foreign power. I'll leave it there, Mr. Chair.